Everything depended on the Rekith military having some limit to news of the standoff, spread through Rekith space like wildfire. Within 3 days, 15 more civilian settlements had made contact with the human medical fleet. Within a week, the number grew to 40. Civilians who had been hiding in fear for years suddenly had hope. They emerged from their hiding places, desperate for the help only humans seemed willing to provide. Hyun barely slept. His medical teams worked around the clock, jumping from settlement to settlement. They treated infections, malnutrition, radiation poisoning, and countless other ailments. But the most difficult cases were always the warriors trying to break free from stimulant addiction. The withdrawal process was brutal to watch. Sora had set up dedicated treatment facilities on 3 different moons. Each facility could handle about 20 patients at a time. The warriors who came for treatment were mostly young. Many had been forced into military service as teenagers. They had never wanted to be soldiers but had no choice. The stimulants made them aggressive and violent. Without the drugs, they were just scared young people who wanted their lives back. One such warrior was named Hajun. He had been a builder before the military conscripted him 5 years ago. Now he lay in a medical bed, his body shaking with withdrawal. Hyun checked his vital signs every hour. The first week was always the most dangerous. Am I going to die? Hajun asked during one of Hyun's visits. His voice was weak and scared. Not if I can help it, Hyun replied. The stimulants damaged your body badly, but you are young and strong. You have a good chance, and why do you care? Hajun asked. I killed humans in battle. I do not remember their faces, but I know I killed them. The stimulants made me into a monster. Why would you save a monster? Hyun sat down next to the bed. He was tired, but this conversation was important. You are not a monster. You were poisoned and forced to fight. That is not the same thing. The real monsters are the commanders who did this to you. To all of you. Hajun closed his eyes. Tears leaked out. There are thousands like me, maybe tens of thousands, warriors who hate what they have become, but we cannot stop. The stimulants own us. If we refuse to fight, we die from withdrawal. If we fight, we die in battle or from the poison slowly eating us from inside. There is no way out. There is now, Hyun said firmly. Every warrior we cure is proof that you can break free, that there is life after the military. You just have to survive the next few weeks. Over the following days, Hajun did survive. Barely. There were moments when his heart stopped and Hyun had to restart it, times when his body convulsed so violently that 4 people had to hold him down, nights when he screamed in agony from pain no medication could fully touch. But slowly, gradually, the stimulants left his system. When Hajun finally opened his eyes clear of the drug haze, he cried for an hour straight. Sora held his hand and let him weep. She had seen this before. The moment when patients realized they were free, that they could think clearly again, that they were not trapped anymore. What do I do now? Hajun asked when he could finally speak. I do not remember how to be anything but a warrior. You learn again, Sora said gently. You remember who you were before, and you help others like you break free too. Meanwhile, Yuna was facing a different kind of crisis. The Rekith Military High Command had finally organized a response to the human medical mission. A massive fleet was being assembled. Over 50 warships. Their mission was simple. Destroy all human presence in Rekith space and eliminate any civilian settlements that had cooperated with them. The order was clear. No survivors, no mercy. The military could not allow this weakness to spread. If civilians thought they could defy military orders and survive, the entire command structure would collapse. We need to evacuate, Minjae told Yuna. We cannot fight 50 warships with 5 medical ships. I know, Yuna said, but she made no move to give the evacuation order. If we leave now, the military will slaughter every civilian who helped us. Thousands of innocent people will die because we abandoned them. If we stay, we all die together, Minjae argued. You cannot save everyone. Yuna stared at the tactical display. He was right. There was no military solution here. They could not fight. They could not run without dooming the civilians. They were trapped with no good options. Then a message came through. Not from the human fleet. From inside Rekith space. From Commander Taejin, the military officer who had refused to fire on civilians during the first standoff. Admiral Yuna, I know about the fleet coming to destroy you. I am reaching out because my officers and I have been talking. Many of us are tired of this war. Tired of killing our own people to maintain control. We have family in civilian settlements. Children we have not seen in years because the military keeps us deployed constantly. We know what the stimulants are doing to us. We feel ourselves becoming monsters. Yuna listened carefully. This could be a trick, but something in Taijin's voice sounded genuine. What are you proposing? She asked. There are 12 ships in my battle group. We are supposed to join the main fleet to destroy you. Instead, we want to defect. We want to protect the civilian settlements. We want to be cured of the stimulants. But we need your help. We need medical treatment and we need proof that this is not suicide, that there is actually a way out of this nightmare. Yuna looked at Minjae. He shook his head in disbelief. This had to be a trap. But what if it was not? What if there were Rekith warriors ready to turn against their own command structure? I need to speak with someone first, Yuna said. She cut the communication and called Hyun immediately. Can you really cure the warriors? Can you cure an entire battle group? Hyun appeared on screen from one of the medical facilities. He looked exhausted, but his voice was steady. It will be difficult, dangerous. Many will not survive the withdrawal. But yes, we can try, if they are serious about this. If this is real, Yuna said slowly. If we can turn enemy warships to our side, it changes everything. The military cannot maintain control if their own officers are defecting. She reconnected with Taijin. Commander, I am willing to help you, but you need to prove your intentions first. Broadcast your declaration of defection on all military frequencies. Let everyone know you are standing with the civilians. Then bring your ships to these coordinates. We will provide medical treatment. There was a long silence. Then Taijin spoke. If I do this, the military will brand us traitors. They will hunt us forever. There is no going back. I know, Yuna said. That is why I need you to be absolutely certain. This is not a decision you can undo. Another pause. Then Taejun's voice came back, stronger this time. We are certain. We have been talking about this for weeks. Your medical mission gave us hope that there could be another way. We are ready to fight for that hope. 30 minutes later, Taejun broadcast his message across all Rekith military channels. He declared that he and his officers were no longer following orders from the military high command. They were defecting to protect civilians. They were seeking medical treatment for stimulant addiction, and they called on other military personnel to join them. The broadcast caused chaos throughout the Rekith Empire. Military communications lit up with arguments and confusion. Some officers called Taejin a traitor. Others asked how to defect too. Some battle groups reported officers fighting each other over whether to stay loyal or rebel. The unified military structure was fracturing. The main fleet that had been assembled to destroy the humans changed course. They were now heading to attack Taijin's ships instead. The military high command had decided that crushing this rebellion was more important than eliminating the human medics. Yuna watched the tactical displays with growing hope. They are fighting each other. The Rekith military is turning on itself. We need to protect Taejin's ships, Minjae said. If the military destroys them, it will scare other potential defectors. We need to show that defection is survivable. How do we protect 12 Rekith warships with 5 medical ships? Yuna asked. The answer came from an unexpected source. The Galactic Council had been monitoring everything happening in Rekith space. They had watched the humans make contact with civilians. They had seen the standoffs with military forces. They had witnessed Taijin's defection broadcast. Now they sent their own message. The Carthian warrior fleet, 20 ships strong, was jumping into Rekith space. They were coming to support the human medical mission. Behind them came Delphian ships, then Felkari vessels, then others. Species that had voted to surrender just days ago were now coming to fight. The Delphian ambassador himself appeared on Yuna's screen. We saw what you did. We saw you choose healing over revenge. You showed us there was another way to win this war. We cannot let you face the enemy fleet alone. Within hours, a combined fleet of 50 allied ships gathered around the human medical vessels. When the Rekith military fleet arrived to destroy Taejun's defectors, they found themselves facing an equal force. The battle that followed was brief but intense, but something unexpected happened during the fighting. More Rekith ships began defecting mid-battle. Warriors who had been preparing to fire on Taejun's group suddenly switched sides. Some officers had been secretly sympathetic to the civilian cause. Others were simply tired of fighting. The military high command had pushed too hard for to. The council chamber buzzed with confused voices. Representatives spoke to their aides in hushed tones. Data analysts checked and rechecked the information Sora had provided. Everything they thought they knew about the enemy was wrong. The Rekith were not one unified species bent on conquest. They were a civilization at war with itself. Yuna pulled up more intelligence reports on the main display. Her tactical team had been gathering data for months, but no one had put the pieces together until now. Intercepted communications between Rekith ships. Encrypted messages that mentioned civilian unrest. Reports of military crackdowns on their own people. It had all seemed like normal enemy chatter. Now it told a different story. "Look at this message," Yuna said, pointing to a translation on the screen. "It is from a Rekith military commander to his fleet. He says that civilian settlements are refusing to provide supplies. He orders his ships to take what they need by force, from his own people." She pulled up another message. This one is from a medical facility requesting help. They say thousands are dying from stimulant withdrawal and they do not have enough medicine. The military command tells them to let the weak die. Only the warriors matter. Taeyang watched the council members absorb this information. He could see their minds working. The Rekith were not unstoppable. They were fragile. Their military was powerful, but it was cannibalizing its own civilization to stay strong. That kind of system could not last forever. The Felkari representative spoke first. Her species were known for their strategic thinking. "If what you say is true, then the Rekith military is in crisis. They are running out of healthy warriors. That is why they created the spore plague weapon. They are desperate." "Exactly," Taeyang said. He moved to the center of the chamber near where Hyun still knelt with the infants. "They are losing their war against us. But more importantly, they are losing their war against their own people. The civilian population wants peace. They want to stop dying for a military that treats them as disposable." The Carthian warrior crossed his arms. "So what do we do with this information? How does it help us win the war?" Hyun stood up slowly. His legs were shaky, but he forced himself to remain standing. The two Rekith infants had both fallen asleep against his chest, unaware of the momentous conversation happening around them. "We do not win the war," Hyun said. "We end it." "Those are the same thing," the Carthian replied. "No," Hyun said firmly. "They are not. Winning means destroying the Rekith military. Ending the war means helping the Rekith civilians take back their civilization. We offer them what their own military will not. Medical aid, food safety, a chance to heal." The chamber erupted into shouting again. Multiple species representatives stood up, their voices overlapping. The words impossible and insane and suicide were thrown around freely. The Delphian ambassador looked like he might attack Hyun again. Taeyang raised his voice to be heard. "Listen to him. Just listen." Gradually, the shouting died down. Hyun continued speaking, his voice growing stronger with each word. "My crew died to save 2 enemy infants. They did this because they believed those lives mattered. Every Rekith civilian is trapped in the same situation as these babies. They did not choose this war. They do not want to fight. They are prisoners of their own military. You want us to send aid to the enemy?" The Brevik's delegate said slowly. "You want us to help the people trying to kill us." "I want us to help the people being forced to kill us," Hyun corrected. "There is a difference. The Rekith military leadership is our enemy. The millions of civilians suffering under them are potential allies. If we can cure their addiction to the combat stimulants, if we can show them there is another way, they will turn against their own military." Sora stepped forward to support him. "I have treated Rekith prisoners for 6 months now. Once the stimulants are out of their system, they are completely different. Gentle, curious, creative. One prisoner, his name is Minho, has asked for asylum. He wants to help us. He wants to guide human medics through Rekith space to reach civilian settlements." The council leader raised one appendage for silence. When the chamber quieted, he spoke directly to Taeyang. "Commander, are you seriously proposing that we send medical teams into enemy territory? That we try to treat a species that has killed billions of our people?" "Yes," Taeyang said without hesitation. "That is exactly what I am proposing. They will kill any medics on sight," the Carthian warrior growled. "This is suicide." "Maybe," Yuna said. She had been quiet for a while, studying the tactical implications. "But maybe not. If we use proper white flag protocols, if we broadcast our intentions clearly, if we have civilian Rekith guides to help us navigate their space, we might have a chance." The Delphian ambassador stood up slowly. Everyone watched him carefully. He had the most reason to hate this plan. His entire world had been devastated by the Rekith. When he spoke, his voice was cold and hard. You are asking me to forgive the species that murdered my family, that killed millions of my people in the most horrible way possible. You are asking me to send medical aid to them instead of bombs. Do you have any idea how that feels? Hyun walked toward the ambassador. Security guards tensed but did not intervene. Hyun stopped a few feet away, still holding the sleeping infants. I am not asking you to forgive, Hyun said gently. I am asking you to see clearly. The Rekith who killed your family were poisoned and forced to fight by their own leaders. Those leaders are the true enemy. These babies in my arms had nothing to do with your family's death. Neither did millions of other Rekith civilians. If we help them, if we free them from their military's control, we can end this war. Is not that what you want? To stop the killing? The Delphian ambassador stared at the infants for a long moment. His translator remained silent. Finally he spoke. I want the killing to stop, but I do not know if I can do what you ask. I do not know if I am that strong. None of us know if we are that strong, Taeyang admitted. This is the hardest thing anyone has ever asked of us. To show mercy to an enemy that showed us none, to heal instead of harm, to trust that compassion can be stronger than violence. But that is what humans believe. That is what our medical oath teaches us, and I think that is the only way this war truly ends. Yuna pulled up a tactical map of Rekith space. She had been running calculations while everyone talked. If we do this, we need to do it smart. Small ships, clear identification as medical vessels, civilian guides. We aim for settlements far from military bases, places where the civilian population is strongest. How long would such a mission take? The council leader asked. Unknown, Yuna admitted. Could be weeks. Could be months. We would be working with very little support and no backup if things go wrong. The Felkari representative tilted her head in thought. And if it works? If you successfully treat a few civilian settlements and they turn against their military, what then? Then the Rekith Empire tears itself apart from within, Taeyang said. The civilians outnumber the warriors 50-1. If we can cure enough of them, if we can show them they have options, they will overthrow their own military. We win the war without firing another shot. And if it does not work? The Breivik delegate asked. If the military kills your medics and uses this as propaganda to strengthen their control? Taeyang met his eyes. Then humanity will have tried something no one else was brave enough to attempt. We will have honored our principles even in the face of defeat, and you can all surrender with a clear conscience knowing you tried everything. The council fell silent. Everyone was thinking. Running calculations. Weighing options. The stakes could not be higher. If the humans succeeded, the war would end and countless lives would be saved. If they failed, humanity would be destroyed and the others would have to surrender anyway. Finally, the council leader spoke. I will allow a vote on this proposal. But understand this. If humanity chooses this path, you go alone. No other species will risk their ships or people on such a mission. If you fail, if you are all killed, the rest of us will surrender immediately. We will not die for your ideals, and we understand, Taeyang said. We only ask for 72 hours. Delay the final surrender vote for 3 days. Give us time to make first contact with Rekith civilians. If we have not made progress by then, you can surrender without us, the vote was called. Every species voted yes to delay the surrender. Not because they believed in the plan, but because they had nothing to lose by waiting 3 more days. The Rekith would not change their attack patterns in 72 hours. As the council adjourned, Hyun finally sat down. His legs could not hold him anymore. Sora rushed over to check on him and the infants. The babies were fine, still sleeping peacefully. But Hyun was exhausted beyond measure. Yuna knelt beside him. Are you ready for this? We are about to fly into enemy space with nothing but medical supplies and hope. If you have any doubts, now is the time to say so. Hyun looked down at the 2 Rekith infants in his arms. He thought of his crew who had died to save them. He thought of the 41 other babies he could not rescue. He thought of all the Rekith civilians suffering under their own military's cruelty. I am ready, he said quietly. Let us go end this war. The silence that followed was worse than the shouting. Every eye in the chamber stared at the 2 Rekith infants. The babies made small sounds, unaware of the hatred surrounding them. One of them reached a tiny hand toward Hyun's face. He smiled sadly and let the infant touch his cheek. The Delphian ambassador was the first to break the silence. He lunged forward with speed that surprised everyone. His translator made his words come out as a scream. Kill them! Kill those monsters now! They are Rekith! They killed my children. They deserve to die. Security guards grabbed the ambassador and pulled him back. He fought against them, still screaming. Other species representatives looked away. Some nodded in agreement with the Delphian. Others seemed uncertain. Yuna moved to stand between Hyun and the angry crowd. Her hand went to her sidearm, though she did not draw it. Taeyang joined her, forming a wall between the medic and the council. "Everyone calm down," Taeyang said. His voice cut through the noise. "Let him explain. Medical Officer Hyun, tell us what happened." Hyun took a deep breath. He adjusted his hold on the infants, making sure they were comfortable. When he spoke, his voice was steady despite his obvious exhaustion. 3 days ago, my ship received a distress signal. It came from deep in Vreketh space. We thought it was a trap. Everyone thought it was a trap. But Captain Lee decided we had to check anyway. That is what medics do. We respond to distress calls. He paused, looking down at the infants. One of them was falling asleep against his chest. We found a Rekith medical transport ship. It was damaged badly. Life support was failing. When we boarded, we found 6 Rekith adults and 43 infants. The adults were dying. They had been exposed to radiation from the damaged engine core. The Felkari representative spoke up. Her voice was curious rather than angry. Why were there so many infants on one ship? It was an evacuation vessel, Hyun explained. The adults were caretakers. They told us before they died that their settlement had been attacked. Not by us, by their own military. The Vrekith military wanted to use their settlement as a staging ground for a new weapon. The caretakers refused, so the military destroyed their home and took all the adults for forced labor. The caretakers managed to steal a ship and save the children. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This did not match what anyone knew about the Rekith. The enemy was supposed to be unified, completely loyal to their military leaders. The idea of Rekith civilians running from their own army made no sense. "You are lying," the Carthian warrior said, but he sounded uncertain. "I wish I was," Hyun replied. "The caretakers begged us to save the children. They did not care that we were humans. They did not care that we were their enemy. They just wanted their babies to live. We started evacuating them to our ship. We got all 43 aboard. The caretakers died before we could save them too." His voice cracked. He closed his eyes for a moment before continuing. "We were heading back to friendly space when Rekith military ships found us. We tried to explain. We broadcast messages saying we had civilians and children aboard. They did not care. They opened fire immediately. Captain Lee ordered all power to shields and engines. She told me to get the infants to the escape pods." Tears ran down Hyun's face now. He did not bother to wipe them away. The ship was falling apart around us. The crew fought to give me time. The captain died at her post. The engineers died trying to keep the engines running. The other medics died protecting the infants. I got to the pod bay with all 43 babies. But the pods were damaged. Only one still worked, a small emergency medical pod. It could only hold 2 infants and 1 adult. The chamber was completely quiet now. Even the Delphian ambassador had stopped struggling. Everyone listened. "I had to choose," Hyun whispered. 43 babies. I could only save 2. How do you make that choice? How do you decide which children live and which ones die? I grabbed the 2 closest to me and ran. I sealed the pod and launched. The ship exploded 5 seconds later. I watched it burn. I watched 41 infants die because I could not save them all. He looked up at the council members, his eyes full of pain and defiance. My entire crew gave their lives for these children, for enemy children. Do you know why? Because we are medics. We swore an oath. We promised to preserve life, all life. It does not matter if the patient is human or alien. It does not matter if they are friend or enemy. A patient is a patient. A child is a child. We do not pick and choose who deserves to live. The Brevix delegate spoke up. His voice was thoughtful. "This oath you mention, what is it exactly?" Taeyang answered. "It is called the Hippocratic Oath. It is very old. Thousands of years old. Every human doctor and medic swears to follow it. The basic idea is simple. First, do no harm. Preserve life whenever possible. Treat everyone equally." "That is insane," the Carthian warrior said. "You would treat an enemy soldier the same as your own?" "Yes," Hyun said simply. "If an enemy soldier is wounded and asks for help, I will help them. That is my duty." The Delphian ambassador had calmed down enough that security released him. He walked slowly toward Hyun. Everyone tensed, ready for violence. But the ambassador just stared at the infants. My daughter was the same age as these children, he said quietly. She died in my arms. The spore plague ate her from the inside out. There was nothing I could do. And you want me to show mercy to the species that killed her? Hyun met his eyes. No, I am not asking for mercy. I am asking you to see what I see. These babies did not kill your daughter. They did not create the spore plague. They are victims just like your daughter was. The Reketh military is our enemy, not these children. Before anyone could respond, the chamber doors opened again. Another human walked in. She was also wearing a medical uniform. Nurse Sora had been stationed on the Delphian homeworld when the spore plague was released. She looked as exhausted as Hyun. Commander Taeyang, she said. I came as soon as I heard what happened. I have information the council needs to know. Information about the spore plague and the Reketh. Yuna gestured for her to approach. What information? Sora pulled out a data pad and displayed medical records on the main screen. Charts and graphs appeared that meant nothing to most people in the room. But the medics understood them, and what they showed changed everything. Before the attack on the Delphian homeworld, we had Reketh prisoners of war in our medical facility, Sora explained. We treated them according to our oath. What we found shocked us. Every single Reketh prisoner showed signs of severe poisoning. Not from anything we did, from something in their own bodies. She changed the display to show cellular scans. The Reketh military has been injecting their warriors with combat stimulants for generations. These stimulants make them stronger, faster, more aggressive, but they also poison them slowly. The stimulants are addictive. Without them, the warriors become violent and unstable. They cannot stop fighting even if they wanted to. The chamber erupted again, but this time with questions instead of anger. Sora continued speaking over the noise. We questioned the prisoners. They told us about their society. The military caste controls everything. The civilian population is huge but powerless. Caretakers, builders, farmers, artists. They outnumber the warriors 50-1, but the military keeps them under control through fear and violence. What does this have to do with the spore plague? The Delphian ambassador asked. Sora took a deep breath. The spore plague was not meant to be a weapon. It was an experimental cure for the stimulant addiction. Reketh civilian doctors created it in secret. They were trying to save their own people. The military discovered it and stole it. They weaponized it because they were desperate. Their warriors are dying from the stimulants and they needed a new biological weapon to replace them. The room fell silent again. This information changed everything. The Reketh were not the unified enemy everyone thought. They were a broken civilization destroying itself from within. The station hung in the darkness of space like a dying star. Apex 7 had seen better days. Its white walls were scorched black from enemy fire. Its viewing ports showed the wreckage of destroyed ships floating past. Inside the main council chamber, 12 species gathered around a circular table. They had come to decide the fate of the galaxy. Commander Taeyang stood near the human delegation seats. His uniform was clean, but his face showed the weight of 3 years of war. Next to him, Admiral Yuna checked her datapad for the 100th time. The numbers never changed. They never got better. The human fleet had lost 60% of its ships. Other species had lost more. The Reketh Empire was winning. Everyone knew it. The Delphian ambassador spoke first. His voice came through a translator device that made his clicks and whistles into words everyone could understand. He had lost his entire family 2 weeks ago. The Reketh had released something they called the spore plague on his homeworld. Millions died in 3 days. His hands shook as he spoke. We cannot continue this war. My people are dying. Not just soldiers, children, elders, everyone. The Reketh show no mercy. They will kill us all if we do not surrender now. Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. The Felkari representative nodded her head. Her species had lost their main colony last month. The Brevix delegate tapped his claws on the table in a gesture that meant yes. Even the proud Carthian warriors looked defeated. Taeyang cleared his throat. All eyes turned to him. Some looked hopeful. Most looked tired. We understand your pain, he said. His voice was calm but firm. Humanity has lost billions too. But surrender will not save your people. The Reketh do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. They will make you slaves at best. At worst, they will kill you anyway. The Delphian ambassador slammed his appendage on the table. The translator made his words sharp and angry. Easy for you to say, human. Your homeworld is still intact. Your Earth still breathes. My world is a tomb. Do you know what it is like to watch your children die and be unable to help them? Taeyang said nothing. What could he say? The Delphian was right. Earth had been lucky. The Vrekith had focused their attacks elsewhere. But that luck would not last forever. Yuna stood up. She was older than Taeyang, and had been fighting wars since before he was born. We need to find another way. There must be a weakness we have not discovered yet. The Vrekith cannot be unstoppable. They are unstoppable, the Carthian warrior growled. His species were famous for never retreating from battle. If even they wanted to surrender, the situation was truly hopeless. We have fought them for 3 years. They do not tire. They do not fear death. They fight like machines. What weakness could such an enemy have? The council chamber erupted into arguments. Some species demanded immediate surrender. Others wanted to fight to the last ship. A few suggested retreating to the far edges of the galaxy and hoping the Vrekith would not follow. None of the options were good. Taeyang listened to it all. He had fought the Vrekith in 7 major battles. He had seen their warriors up close. They were terrifying. 8 feet tall with armor like natural plating. Their weapons were grown from their own bodies. They used biological warfare that made normal weapons look gentle. They seemed to enjoy causing pain, but something had always bothered him about the Vrekith. Something did not add up. Their warriors were incredibly violent, but intercepted communications sometimes showed something different. References to caretakers and healers, mentions of civilian populations that sounded afraid of their own military. It was like 2 different species in one. Before he could voice these thoughts, the vote was called. The council leader, a neutral administrator from a species that had not joined the war, asked each delegation to cast their vote. Surrender or continue fighting. One by one, the species voted. The Delphians voted to surrender. The Felkari voted to surrender. The Breviks voted to surrender. The Carthians argued among themselves before finally voting to surrender. On and on it went. When it was done, 11 species had voted for surrender. Only humanity abstained. The council leader looked at Taeyang. Commander, your vote? We need more time, Taeyang said. 72 hours. Let us investigate something before we make this decision final. Investigate what? The Delphian ambassador demanded. There is nothing left to investigate. The Vrekith will not stop. They will not negotiate. What could possibly change in 3 days? Taeyang opened his mouth to answer, but he never got the chance. The chamber doors exploded inward. Not from an attack. Someone had overridden the security locks and forced them open. A man stumbled into the room. His uniform marked him as Human Medical Corps. It was torn and covered in blood. Some of it looked human. Some of it did not. He was breathing hard like he had been running. In his arms he carried 2 bundles wrapped in thermal blankets. Security guards rushed toward him. Yuna held up her hand to stop them. She recognized the man. Medical Officer Hyun. He had been assigned to a medical frigate that was supposed to be destroyed 3 days ago. The entire crew was listed as killed in action, but here he was, alive. Barely. Hyun stumbled to the center of the chamber. The council members backed away from him. He smelled of smoke and death. His eyes were red and his face was streaked with tears and dirt. He fell to his knees, still clutching the bundles close to his chest. I am sorry, he gasped. I am sorry for interrupting. But you need to see this. You all need to see this before you vote. The council leader started to speak, but Taeyang moved faster. He walked to Hyun and knelt beside him. What happened to your ship? Destroyed, Hyun whispered. Everyone is dead. The captain, the nurses, all 43 crew members. Only I survived. Only I could carry these 2. Carry what? Yuna asked, moving closer. With shaking hands, Hyun pulled back the thermal blankets. 2 small faces looked up at the assembly. Large eyes that glowed faintly in the chamber lights. Skin that had a slight purple tint. Small bodies no bigger than human infants. They were Vrekith children, babies. The chamber exploded into chaos. Several species representatives jumped back in horror. The Delphian ambassador made a sound like choking. The Carthian warrior reached for a weapon that was not there. Security guards did not know what to do. Hyun held the infants closer, protecting them from the hostile stares. They are just babies, he said, his voice stronger now. They are just children who did nothing wrong. And I watched 41 others die because I could not save them all. Taeyang stared at the infants, then at Hyun. then at the council members who were shouting and pointing and demanding explanations. The vote to surrender was forgotten. Everything was forgotten. Because a human medic had just walked into the Galactic Council carrying the enemy's children, and nothing would ever be the same. The human fleet jumped into Rekith space at exactly 0600 hours. 5 medical ships, small and fast, painted pure white with red cross symbols covering their hulls. Every scanner was set to broadcast one message on all frequencies in every known language. We come to heal. We come in peace. We are medical personnel only. We carry no weapons. Hyun stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Hope. The 2 Rekith infants he had saved were in the medical bay below, being cared for by nurses. Next to him, Yuna commanded the small fleet with precision. Her tactical display showed the surrounding space. Empty, silent, no response to their broadcasts. Maybe they did not hear us, suggested Jiwon, the communications officer. They heard us, Yuna said grimly. The question is whether they will respond or just destroy us. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The fleet moved slowly through Rekith space, following coordinates that Minho had provided. The Rekith prisoner who wanted asylum had given them locations of civilian settlements, places far from military bases where caretakers and farmers and builders lived. Places that might welcome help, but first they had to survive long enough to reach them. Contact, Jiwon suddenly announced. Single ship approaching. It is not broadcasting military signatures. I think it is civilian. Everyone on the bridge tensed. This was the moment. Either they would make contact or they would die trying. The ship that appeared on their screens was ancient, patched with mismatched hull plating. Its engines sputtered and coughed. It looked like it barely held together. But it was moving toward them deliberately, not attacking. They are hailing us, Jiwon said, surprise clear in her voice. Put them through, Yuna ordered. The screen flickered to life. A Vrikith face appeared. Female, based on the markings Minho had taught them to recognize. Her eyes were large and tired. Her skin had the purple tint that all Vrekith shared, but it looked faded and sick. When she spoke, the translator made her words sound desperate. You are the humans who broadcast medical aid messages? Yes. Hyun stepped forward. I am Medical Officer Hyun. We have supplies and trained personnel. We want to help your people. The Rekith female's eyes widened. She looked behind her, speaking to others off-screen. Then she turned back. I am Dayun. I lead a civilian settlement on the 3rd moon of Rekith Prime. Our people are dying. The military takes all our medicine for the warriors. Children suffer. Elders waste away. If you truly want to help, follow me. But you must hurry. If the military discovers us, they will kill us all. Yuna checked her tactical display. The coordinates Dayun provided matched what Minho had given them. It could still be a trap, but something in Dayun's voice sounded genuine. Desperate people did not usually set elaborate traps. We will follow you, Yuna decided. The journey to the 3rd moon took 6 hours. Every minute felt like an eternity. The human ships followed Dayun's battered vessel through asteroid fields and around planetary shields, avoiding patrol routes, staying in the shadow of larger objects, hiding from their own people. When they finally arrived, Hyun understood why the military had not destroyed this settlement yet. It was buried deep inside a crater on the dark side of the moon. No power signatures, no energy readings, just a settlement powered by dying generators and the determination to survive. Dayun led them to a landing area. As the Hope touched down, Hyun looked out the viewport at the settlement. Hundreds of Rekith civilians emerged from underground shelters. They looked nothing like the warriors humanity had been fighting. They were smaller, thinner. Their natural armor was not as thick. Some limped. Others carried children. All of them looked sick. Prepare medical teams, Hyun ordered. Full protective gear. We do not know what diseases or contamination we might encounter. Take every precaution. Sora organized the medical personnel into teams. Each team had specific assignments. One for infectious diseases, one for trauma, one for pediatrics, another for geriatrics. They had trained for this moment during the flight here, but training and reality were different things. Hyun was the first to exit the ship. He carried a medical scanner and an emergency kit. Daeun approached him slowly, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. Up close, he could see how sick she really was. Her skin had lesions. Her breathing was labored. She was dying slowly. "Thank you for coming," Daeun said. "Many of us did not believe it. We thought humans would kill us on sight after everything the military has done to your people." "We are not here for revenge," Hyun replied. "We are here to heal. Show me your sickest patients first." Daeun led them into the underground settlement. It was cramped and dark. Power was rationed carefully. Medical facilities were non-existent. The wounded and sick lay on makeshift beds, tended by caretakers who had no training or supplies. Children cried from hunger and pain. Elders sat quietly, waiting to die. Hyun had seen war zones before. He had worked in field hospitals during the worst battles. But this was different. These were not soldiers. These were families, communities, people who wanted nothing more than to live in peace, and they were being slowly destroyed by their own military's demands. Sora gasped beside him. "There are hundreds of them. We do not have enough supplies for everyone." "Then we triage," Hyun said firmly. "We save who we can, and we call for more supplies. Yuna, contact the fleet. We need everything they can send." The next hours blurred together. Human medics worked alongside Reketh caretakers. Language barriers were overcome through gestures and shared purpose. The sickest patients were stabilized first. Children received antibiotics for infections that should have been treated weeks ago. Elders got pain medication that let them rest comfortably for the first time in months. Hyun personally examined over 50 patients. Each one told the same story. The military took everything: food, medicine, young adults forced into warrior training. The civilians were left with scraps, expected to produce supplies for the war while slowly starving. One patient, an elderly male named Dae-hyun, grabbed Hyun's arm as he worked. "Why do you help us? We are your enemy." Hyun looked into the old Rekith's eyes. "No, you are not my enemy. You are my patient. That is all that matters." Dae-hyun's eyes filled with tears. "The military told us humans were monsters, that you killed for pleasure, that you would torture any Rekith you captured. But you are here healing us instead." "Propaganda," Hyun said softly. "Your military lied to you just like they lied about everything else. We are not monsters. We are just people trying to survive, same as you." As the human medics worked, word spread through the settlement. More Rekith emerged from hiding places. Some had been too afraid to show themselves at first. Others had been too sick to move. By the end of the first day, the human teams had treated over 300 patients. But the work had just begun. The real challenge was treating the stimulant addiction. The combat drugs the military used were incredibly powerful. Withdrawal was painful and dangerous. Many would die before they recovered. Sora set up a dedicated treatment center for addicted warriors who had fled the military. There were 15 of them in the settlement, hiding from their former commanders. They shook with withdrawal symptoms, violent one moment, crying the next. Their bodies craved the stimulants that were killing them. "This will take weeks," Sora told Hyun. "The detoxification process is brutal. Even with our best medicines, the survival rate is only about 60%. "Then we make that 60% count," Hyun replied. "Every warrior we cure is one less the military can use against us. Every civilian we heal is another voice calling for peace." On the second day, Yuna received an urgent message. Her tactical Officer Minji had been monitoring military communications. A Vrikith patrol fleet had detected unusual activity near the third moon. They were investigating. "We have maybe 6 hours," Yuna told Hyun. "Then the military will be here. We need to evacuate." "We cannot leave these people," Hyun protested. "They are still sick. The treatments are not complete. If we stay, we all die. The military will not show mercy to either us or these civilians." Daeun overheard their conversation. She approached with several other civilian leaders. Her expression was resolved. "If the military comes, we will not run." This is our home. We will fight if we must. You cannot fight a military fleet with mining equipment and desperation, Yuna said bluntly. Then what do we do? Daeun asked. We cannot run. We have nowhere to go. And we cannot abandon the others. Others? Hyun asked. What others? Daeun looked surprised. Did you think we were the only settlement? There are dozens of civilian communities like ours scattered throughout Rekith space, all hiding from the military, all dying slowly. If word spreads that humans are helping us, others will come. Yuna checked her tactical display again. The military fleet was closing in, 4 hours now. But Daeun's words had given her an idea, a crazy, desperate idea. But then again, this entire mission was crazy and desperate. Hyun, can you get word to other settlements, tell them to come here? Maybe, if Daeun can broadcast on civilian frequencies. But why would we want more people here when the military is coming? Yuna smiled grimly. Because I am betting the Rekith military will not fire on a gathering of their own civilians. Not even they are that ruthless. And if they are willing to kill their own people to get to us, then the galaxy will see what monsters they truly are. It was a gamble.